In my last video, I said that women should be economically independent, have independence of character, especially have their own principles and boundaries. There's nothing wrong with that, right? Yet, there were still men in the comments criticizing and insulting me. I started thinking, would I not be criticized if I said that women should depend on men and obey them? Wrong, I would still be criticized. What they want is for women to be economically independent, not to rely on them, but for their character not to be independent and for them to still obey men. Ridiculous.
At least after decades of observation, I can say that whenever there is a struggle for gender equality, women end up suffering the most. This is something I emphasize repeatedly. If you understand the reality in China, you will see that the situation has always favored women's rights over men's. However, on the surface, we present an image that values men. This is a typical strategy in China, giving the appearance of authority to men, even though, in practice, the real power is in the hands of the women of the household. If you observe closely, you will realize that women believe that by taking control, they can actually hold power, but on the surface, they do not have that appearance. This is what makes them intelligent. Nowadays, we are being overshadowed by many Western claims, which ends up creating confusion in our minds. Westerners always talk about equality between men and women, and we blindly follow that narrative. I urge everyone to think calmly. Where in the world is there a real need to pursue equality? Where are the demands for equality the highest? The answer is simple: in places where there is inequality. We should not simply adopt what foreigners fight for. They have their own needs, but that does not mean we need to have the same.
It all started recently with Wang Siwen and his own comments in a stand-up routine, where he said that independent women should earn their own money. Now, he's saying that independent women don't necessarily need to make their own money, which has created a contradiction and triggered a new wave of controversial discussions about independent men and women. Let me share the results of our research. First of all, on a macro level, our society has different expectations and criteria for the independence of men and women. Generally speaking, we have higher expectations for men, while the economic demands on women are lower. Why? Partly because women are responsible for reproduction, while men are expected to provide for the family. Additionally, in this context, the majority of wealth is generated by men. However, the economy requires consumption and intermediaries capital. They need to encourage people to spend, even offering certain incentives. They notice it's hard to extract this wealth from men because many have a pragmatic mindset, focused on saving for marriage, buying a house, a car, and providing their wives and children with the best education and life possible. This is the traditional value of marriage and relationships in China. As a result, capital shapes a very high standard of male independence, while the standard for female independence is more vague and flexible. Women still have the option to marry and rely on men, which to some extent is a privilege. I often say, if you are independent, then don't depend financially on men, don't ask them to support you. But then some people get outraged because, deep down, they know this is a privilege they don't want to give up, even if they don't need it. This economic dependence of women on men is reinforced by the mindset ingrained in men from a young age that they must be providers. The high expectation of male independence, contrasted with the lower expectations for women, comes from the fact that women can shift between creating their own resources and depending on men, which often results in more disposable income for them. In the end, this explains why some people hate men so much, yet still ask them for money. I've said many times, if you hate men so much, why don't you just stay away from them? Likewise, if someone hates women so much, why not stay away from them too? Men like that kind of independent woman, not just economically independent, but one who can do everything on her own. In fact, men don't need this woman to do anything for them. They just want her to take care of herself and then complain about the man if needed. For example, it's like a long-distance relationship. If you're going to his city, you can rent your own place, find a job, and live well. He just needs to add something extra, like the icing on the cake. Do you understand? It's not that when you arrive, he has to take care of all your needs, that everything has to be organized, and that he has to manage everything for you. Men believe you are an independent person and that you don't need him to do everything for you to prove that he loves you. Love should be based on mutual understanding. You should have the ability to take care of yourself instead of being like a child who depends on others, needing someone to feed you with a spoon, and all you need to do is open your mouth. Got it? Many girls say, if I can do everything, why do I need a man? I find that statement particularly toxic. If you can do everything, it shows you are an exceptional person, not that you should use your abilities as a bargaining chip to elevate yourself above others. Everyone can do it. It's not just you who should feel privileged, you know? So, this kind of independence is what allows a man to truly respect and love you. If you're spending your own money, then you don't need to be bothered by what I'm saying. You're a respectable, independent woman. But nowadays, there are many women pretending to be independent, using the guise of female empowerment to live off others. For example, some influencers have followers who rely on men for food, drink, and living expenses until the day they die, and they do so as if it's natural, as if it's the right thing to do. These women tell me that this somehow justifies the simp economy, where men are expected to spend money on them. They say it's something men should do, or at least they do it voluntarily. But if you really don't like the guy, why take his money? But of course, no one is going to refuse extra income, right? And that's why they defend this behavior, because they don't want to cut off that source of income. These men are treated like financial benefactors, but they're looked down upon. And I'm telling you, in a society with gender equality, if a woman is poor, that's her own problem, and if a man is poor, that's his own issue. Each person is an individual with their own challenges. Besides, some people aren't actually pursuing equality, they're after privilege. What these influencers are promoting as gender balance is really just an argument for privileges for gold diggers. If you were truly a blogger advocating for gender equality, shouldn't you be encouraging women not to rely financially on men and to participate more in creating social and economic value? We need to move away from seeing women as just reproductive tools. Today, what weighs on women isn't men. It's their own patriarchal mindset. The old saying that women hold up half the sky has been completely distorted. The current situation is that many gold diggers are trying to steal the credit and position of the working class women. I'm not saying women can't aspire to better partners in marriage or relationships. They can. But this obsession with appearance and status is a product of patriarchal society. If we think about it, the world is still largely governed by that view, and it will likely remain that way for decades. These same women who claim they want to overthrow patriarchy are still seeking rich men as sugar daddies. They don't work, they don't make an effort, but they spend their days thinking about how to get money from strangers on the internet. And they say they don't take advantage of ordinary people, but in reality, they're living off others. Ironically, they still call themselves independent. If you're really independent, why not spend your own money? These influencers spend their time encouraging women to exploit men financially, without promoting the creation of value through work. Instead, they justify the idea that women can financially take advantage of men. And when a man cheats, they call for severe punishment. But if a woman cheats, they tell men to just deal with it. When a man violates morals, he's harshly judged. But when a woman does, they say, if the law doesn't forbid it, it's fine. These influencers promote Goddess Day and Queen's Day, holidays that disrespect true working women, and they say, why do you care? As long as they're happy, it's all good. When a man does something wrong, he's attacked. But when a woman does, she's forgiven. The issue of cheating is about right and wrong, not about gender. And let me ask you, when you celebrate Goddess Day, whose money are you spending? It can't be your own, can it? If you're really spending your own money, then why do you care about what I'm saying? If I'm criticizing these gold diggers, why would an independent woman feel offended? It's like when I criticize bad men. Decent men wouldn't feel insulted, right? Do you know what the term gender bonus means? It refers to the idea that women, considering themselves a vulnerable group, should receive deference and protection from men, as well as care and privileges. In fact, this view is accepted and endorsed by men, both historically and across various cultures, and it makes sense, which is why they don't complain or grumble. They proactively take on the burdens of national construction and defending the homeland. But nowadays, it seems that this is becoming unsustainable. Men are doing the hardest jobs in society while also facing complaints and discrimination from their partners. Currently, feminism seems to have expanded excessively, underestimating that this is about to break the balance. They want to enjoy the gender bonus, or what is called lady first, while also wanting to be independent. How can there be such a good thing? There is no two-sided sweetness in sugarcane. If you want to be independent, then the gender bonus naturally cannot exist. If true equality cannot be achieved, then there should be no talk of independence. This tug-of-war in values is causing the opposition between men and women to become increasingly severe. In fact, in the end, those who really get hurt are those who want both at the same time. Lastly, I will quote a line from teacher Luo Yonghao, which gives you a piece of life advice. If you are being kept, it is really strange to talk about having an independent personality. So, that's it.
The gentleman I showed at the beginning of the video has a very interesting perspective on the topic. I don't know when this ideology that we are all equal began, but the theory of those who preach this dilemma is somewhat contradictory. While they consider themselves different, they advocate for equality. Essentially, the goal of these individuals is that from the moment inequality affects them or puts them in an unfavorable situation, the inequality they desire disappears in the same instant. This leads us to a simple conclusion. What these people truly preach is not equality, but advantage. They want everyone to be equal, but only in the good things. It's a hypocrisy we see everywhere in the world. I have a simple opinion that I was taught from childhood. We are all different. There will always be someone richer, smarter, or more beautiful than you, and vice versa. You will be better than some people. This talk of self-acceptance is just a strategy for mediocre people who use this societal dilemma to hide who they really are. I want to know your opinion on this topic. Do you believe that women and men have the same capabilities and that neither has a different role, but rather equal importance? If you liked the video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel. I'll see you in the next video.